podcast where people reach their goals and develop confidence one mind shift habit at a time. Let's join our host, certified coach Christina.
Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach, the weekly podcast that helps you to live your best life by shifting your mindset. If this is your first time joining me here on Conversations with Coach, welcome. I am your host, certified mindset and confidence coach, Christina Calloway. I partner with athletes, parents, and coaches, and together we develop the tools to increase their confidence and achieve their goals both on and off the field of play. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that all things gymnastics is what I love the most, having been a former gymnast and now gymnastics coach and now the mindset and confidence coach for many athletes that are gymnasts. I love all things gymnastics. I started in gymnastics when I was 6, which is considered in these times as being a late starter. However, I never took formal classes. I just actually started out as a competitive gymnast, and I did it up through my freshman year of college. And so I'm excited about this episode because it is all things gymnastics and a little bit more. So just to give you some information, the sport of gymnastics traces its roots to ancient Greece. And when it first started, men were the ones who participated in it, and they performed physical exercises in spaces fittingly enough known as gymnasiums. And the name of the sport itself is derived from the Greek word gymnazine, meaning to exercise naked, right? That's what I said too. That's pretty weird. Can't even imagine trying to do that. The ancient Greeks practiced gymnastics as part of a slate of activities designed to promote physical and mental health. Following the decline of Greek civilization and the rise of the Romans, gymnastics evolved into the more formal sport for what we're kind of used to today. Gymnastics fell into relative obscurity after antiquity, with early medieval Europeans shunning extracurricular physical activity, in part due to the strong aesthetic sentiment of early Christianity. There were also some other things such as financial constraints, and the culture started shifting, and that played a role in the decline. But there were still a few, like traveling troops of thespians, dancers, acrobats, and jugglers that continued to practice tumbling and gymnastics adjacent throughout the medieval period. And although this sport was introduced in the 1896 Olympic Games, gymnastics competitions were not standardized until the 1928 Olympics, and this also happened to be the year that women began competing in the sport at the Olympics. Believe it or not, it would be 1980 before the first Black woman qualified with enough points to make the U.S. gymnastics Olympic team. And she's a young girl from California, and her name is Lucy Collins. She was the first Black elite gymnast out of the United States, and at the age of 16. So she was excited and ready to compete, but the rug was swept out from underneath her Olympic debut, and all of the other American teams after the U.S. government decided to boycott the Moscow Games and not allowing them to compete. Lucy Collins literally opened the door for other Black girls to join the sport, including myself. Dominique Dawes was the first Black gymnast to compete in the Olympic Games in 1992. Gabby Douglas was the first Black gymnast to win the all-around title at the Olympics in 2012. And as we all know, Simone Biles is the most decorated U.S. women's gymnast, earning 32 world and Olympic championship medals, and her 7 Olympic medals tie for the most by a U.S. gymnast. Most of the gymnasts I mentioned were elite athletes and did not attend college. However, if they had wanted to attend college, their only choice would have been to attend a PWI, predominantly white institution. This is because not until last year, 2022, was it an option for Black or brown girls to attend an HBCU, an historically Black college and university. Fisk University, located in Nashville, Tennessee, became the first HBCU to offer a gymnastics program. They just finished their inaugural season where four of their members qualified for individual nationals. Very impressive in their first year. This year, Talledega College, located in Talledega, Alabama, started a gymnastics program and joins Fisk as the second HBCU to offer the sport. On this episode of Conversations with Coach, I am joined by their first signee for us to have a conversation and talk about her experience and goals for her college gymnastics. I want you to put some love in the chat and help me to welcome our guest, Kyrstin Johnson. Hey,
Hi,
Kyrstin.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. What did you think about all the statistics that I was reading?
Man, I didn't know any of that. I was just learning as I go. I was like, Greek. Naked what?
That's what I said. When I did it, when I was doing the research, and I was like, naked? Why would anyway,
Yes.
I'm not really sure I would want to do beam naked or anything naked like where other people are watching. But obviously during that time, that was the culture. So it didn't seem odd. It probably would have been odd if we would have had on leotards or something like that. So they felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
But we are grateful for the evolution of this sport so that we can keep our clothes on while we're doing it. And I'm excited to have you here. I wanted to share with the listening audience that how we met, how we know each other. So as you all know, I'm a confidence and mindset coach, and Kyrstin reached out to me herself. I'm usually contacted by the parents. It was in the wee hours of the morning, and I get a notification on my Instagram account, and this young lady is just being very descriptive of what's going on, like she knew what was going on. And my immediate thing was, okay, I usually don't talk with the child. Have your mom reach out to me. And a few days after that, her mom did reach out. We had a conversation. And so Kyrstin became my client. And she's done remarkably well. And I love the relationship that we have. And I'm super excited to have you on sharing about your most recent news of joining the second HBCU, but you're their first signee. But before we get there, I want you to share with the audience a little bit about your story, your gymnastics and all of that.
Okay, so I've always just been flipping around my house since I was 2. And my cousin is actually a gymnast. Well, she was a gymnast. She went to Temple. And it's funny because my parents were actually thinking about putting me in gymnastics. But my cousin's parents, they were like, no, don't put her in gymnastics. Take up your life, your life, so much money. So my parents literally have been holding it out. Like they put me in cheerleading, dance, everything else but gymnastics. So we went to Port Discovery. And, I was flipping in there because, I flip everywhere. And this girl wanted to compete with me when I was flipping. So I did a cartwheel. She did a cartwheel. I did like a kick. She did a kick. So, I couldn't be outdone. I put my arms up, look behind me. My mom already knew. No, because she knew what I was about to do. I did a backflip and I made it. My dad saw me. He was like, so she couldn't compete with me anymore. And my parents was like, yeah, we put her in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Gymnastics at the age of 7.
7. I was going to ask you, how old were you when that happened? And so you're kind of like me. You're what most people call being a late starter. I really hate that people use that, like starting late. Because of the fact that I believe if you have a passion and desire and the natural ability to do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Just get started. And I think sometimes too much of an emphasis is put on, oh, well, you got to start them early, and I
Mm-hmm.
think just letting them get an introduction and falling in love with the sport, which sounds like exactly what happened with you, despite your
Mm-hmm.
parents' best efforts, you fell into it. And so what has it been like for you? What was it like? You started at 7, and then
Mm-hmm.
how did you get into competition?
Okay, so at like 7, I would do like classes. I went to like Copper Mine. It's kind of like a camp ish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would go there and like train with them, train with the other kids. But after a while, since I was like self-taught, I literally taught myself everything. And they were just like, you know what? We can't really teach her anything else. She needs to be on a team. So I started going to gyms, trying out. Finally went to rebounders, and I got on my first team level 4 at age of 10.
Nice.
So that's when it
I'm
all
going to have you
started.
pause right there with
Mm-hmm.
saying that you made your first team at 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and you were a level 4. And we previously just talked about how people will think, oh, it's too late. That's too late. By the time you're 10, you should already be this level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually when I hear parents say that, I equate it to milestones. When a child is developing, the doctors will say, well, you want to make sure that they're doing X by this age or Y by that age. It's not
Mm-hmm.
to say that if the child's not doing it by that age, that there's a developmental issue necessarily, but it just is key markers that the doctors look at and the parent should be aware of in development. And so with you talking about entering your first competitive level at age 10, speak to the parent or the athlete who is that level and they have aspirations to go to college or maybe to even the Olympics, and they just got started and they're 10 years old. What would you say to them?
To me, I would just really block that out, because like you said, if you know you have a passion, you know you love flipping, then it's just you in that sport. If that's just something that you really love, then there's really nothing to worry about. This what makes you happy, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what age,
Mm-hmm.
gender.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing to worry about. Plus, like, even when I got to level 4, I skipped 5 and 6 weight straight up to 7. Because I've always just kept practicing at home. I would get like beams, like mats, and my parents would always hook me up. So yeah, they would hook me up with everything that I needed or like wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I really did appreciate that. So look where I am now. And
Yeah.
that could be you. That could be your kid. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. Do you recall if anyone told you at the age of 10 that you were starting late and that was going to affect your performance or your progression?
Actually no, I have. So I wanted to get onto the elite track because I actually wanted to go to the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there was this thing, since I was too old, it was like this thing called hopes.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying since I started out late, I'm at a certain age, I'm actually too old for that.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do that. And then when I got injured, I just mainly been focusing on college.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to that, I'm not really sure if I could have went to hopes or not. But that is something I do actually remember somebody saying, "Hey, you're too old for this," or "You started out too late for that." So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And how do you take that that disappointment? I won't call it negative news because you're right. The Hopes program in gymnastics does have an age limit. If I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken, I think it might be 10. No, it might be
Yeah.
8. It might be 8 years old. And there's other requirements, not just age. There's some other requirements. But how did you take that disappointment? Because you said I had aspired to go to the Olympics. And then I was told that the
Mm-hmm.
track that I needed to get on to actually progress in that way, I was too old at that time to do it. So how did you use the disappointment to not turn you away from the sport, but inspire you to do your best in spite of that?
That's actually a good question. I kind of just took that in, and I kind of just like told myself that it was okay. Maybe, you know, that just wasn't the plan that God,
Mm-hmm.
had for me. So I kind of just like took that and just like, okay, what's the other option? And the other option was college. And I was like, okay, that's something like that's actually pretty good. Like the Olympics. Okay, we can just leave that alone, just go into college and, make your own history.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to hear that you had the mindset to say, well, there's other goals that I can set for myself in gymnastics. I don't
mhm,
have to quit the sport. I don't have to let my start at the age of 7 be at necessarily a handicap. I can
mhm,
actually use it to my advantage and then get refocused. Because as you and I both know, that's the whole point and goal. The key to being successful in anything is to set goals and then have micro goals for those
mhm.
larger goals and just keep your eye focused on that. So I know what I love most about gymnastics. Tell the audience what you like about gymnastics.
I actually like because everybody can't do gymnastics, so I like expressing. I like how I can actually express myself through movement. Um,
Yeah.
and people get to know me from there. And plus, I also like how I can, show off like the skills I worked so hard for in the gym and just be like, hey, hello, this is me. I just did that skill. Can you do that? No, you cannot.
I agree with
So,
you because gymnastics is definitely one of those sports
it
that
is hard.
sets you. It's hard, but here's the thing: we make it look easy. How many times have you
Yes.
heard people say that you make that look so easy and you're doing like this really difficult thing? Or they'll
Yeah.
say that looks so hard, and you're thinking that's
Oh
not
no.
that hard.
Mm-mm.
That is not that hard.
Uh-uh.
So how has your involvement in gymnastics helped you outside of gymnastics, like with school or interacting with others, developing your confidence?
Hmm. Um, I think just having a team, I feel like communication, it's a lot help with, social um things in school because like I'm shy. So
Can y'all
uh
believe that? She
yeah.
doesn't seem shy, does she?
So like with my team, I feel like I can be myself around them. I feel like I communicate with them. And then also eye contact was actually pretty hard for me. So like being able to
Oh,
have some really strong eye contact with my teammates, I'm like, okay, if I can do it with my teammates, I can do it with other people, like in school.
right.
So I think just being able to practice with communication and socializing, that's actually being able to help with that, including like just every day, all day. But yeah.
Yeah, that is really good. And you're right, it does help build your confidence. It helps build your self esteem,
Mhm.
your communication skills, your time management skills. There's just so many life skills that gymnastics brings. And I know you're homeschooled now.
Mhm.
When did you switch from going to in person school
Mhm.
to homeschool? And what was the reason behind that decision?
I started in the beginning of high school, so when I was a freshman. Um, so when I went to this gym called First State, that's when I was trying to get an elite track. Um, Practices was for 6 hours, so we had no choice but to
Yeah.
homeschool. So we would
Mhm.
practice for 3 hours, stop, take a break, eat lunch, do school. Then after that, practice for like another 3 hours. So
Mhm.
that's the reason behind why I'm homeschooled.
Nice.
I've been homeschooled ever since. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that those that are watching and that they understand what the elite track and what the schooling and how it looks like. And because a lot of people will say, oh, my daughter has aspirations to be in the Olympics. However, they don't understand what there's a lot of sacrifice behind that. And most of the the gyms here in the United States will require the athlete to withdraw from in-person school and participate in the online schooling throughout their duration of it. And that's just so that, like what Kyrstin just stated, there's so many practice hours. She was practicing 30 hours a week. There are many athletes that do 40 hours a week. They'll do 4 hours school, 4 hours, and they'll do that 5 days a week. Some practice more than that because they'll practice on the weekends as well. So there's that part of getting involved in that track. A misnomer, though, that people have is that you have to be on the elite tracks before colleges will look at you. When did you decide that you wanted to compete in college, and what was the decision? I know you are an ambassador for Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. So share with the audience your connection with Brown Girls and how the HBCU opportunity came about.
Okay. So, actually, one of my teammates' mom, she's the teammate is actually a level 9. I love her. Her name's Brielle, and her mom is named Miss Christine, and she is the one who introduced me to Brown Girls. And I actually went to the Brown Girls Gymnastics camp, A&T, and that's when I actually had a connection. I actually felt like I belonged, that they actually wanted me around, that I felt included. Yeah, I actually really just made a connection. I really got to know my culture, and I was just like, oh my God, I think I want to go to an HBCU. But the problem was there was really no HBCU with the gymnastics program yet.
Right.
And luckily, Brown Girls Gymnastics is actually what made HBCU with gymnastics team possible. The first one, Fisk. And I just like, okay, there's Fisk. I know there's going to be another one soon. Talledega. And I saw that had everything I needed, and it was a great fit for me. So that's when I was just like, okay, I'm going to go to HBCU with gymnastics team. So I picked Talledega. And
that is really awesome.
I've always just want to thank Brown Girls for that, because, the reason why I definitely want to go to HBCU, because first I could see stepping, could see the fraternities, sororities, bands, and I'll be like in my culture like 24/7. Like that's just like so cool to me. And we get to represent all the other Black queens out there. And it's like, you know what? Hey, it's our time. We have an HBCU with gymnastics team, so come on over. And that's just great. If there are like, Black girls out there who actually been through what I went through, there's always, something on the other side of the rainbow,
Right.
So
yes, exactly. Yes. So Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, founded by Darren Moore is her last name, right? Darren Moore. I usually just call her Darren. I just had a brain lapse right there because I couldn't remember her last name.
Coach
but
Darren,
yes, she was very incremental in Fisk getting a program. She started probably 6 years ago campaigning through her nonprofit Brown Girls Do Gymnastics to just put the idea in people's minds that HBCUs can and should have a gymnastics program. And she just built this momentum and this traction. And then the whole Fisk story that everyone, is probably very familiar with is one of their athletes that's on the team had an uncle who was on the board of trustees, and they were sitting around the table, and whenever she would go to family or, their cookouts or any gathering, she would have on a Fisk shirt because she had relatives, parents who were alumni. And so it was automatically asked, oh, so you're going to Fisk? And she was like, well, I would love to, but they don't have a gymnastics program. So she didn't think that would be possible. But then sitting one day around the dinner table, her uncle asked her, they were talking about it, and she was like, yeah, I would love to go there if they had a gymnastics program, because I'm not going to give it up. So for people who are watching who don't understand, for people of color, Black, brown athletes or individuals, having that representation matters. As Kyrstin has been stating about just getting to know her culture more, there's not a lot of, if probably any, and we won't even get into the discussion of how the history that's being taught in school is changing now. So it's very difficult to be able to learn more about your culture when you're not in an environment that's submersive, that you are submersive in. And so when Kyrstin mentioned that she was excited to see Talledega, because I'm quite sure Fisk was on your radar, with them being the only one and that being your goal. But you said that when Talledega came on, that the school lined up with some of the things that you wanted. Talk to the audience about how that is important and what that struggle was, to decide on, am I going to need to sacrifice what it is that I want in school, but not maybe sacrifice, but make it look a little different so that I can attend this HBCU before Talledega became an option?
Ooh. Well, I do like that how Talledega definitely puts, academics first is one thing I really do like. Because I know after gymnastics, I'm definitely going to have to focus on my major because I want to become a veterinarian. So I want to make sure I'm set after school. So they definitely had all the requirements I needed for that. And then I just love the campus. Everybody on the campus is like a family. And that's one thing I really did like because, me moving from home, away from Baltimore, Maryland to Alabama, that's a lot. So luckily, everybody on the campus, I'll have family there.
Yeah.
Also have like alumni from that went to Talledega. So I have some close family, and then I have the Talledega family.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And recently I joined you at your signing at Talledega, and your grandmother shared some information as it relates to family legacy that's attached to Talledega that you had no idea of until after you had made the decision. Share a little bit about that and how it made you feel when you learned that.
I actually had no idea. So Mr. William Harvey, they actually have a museum there named after him. That's actually my grandmother's cousin. I want to say he's my third cousin. He was also alumni. And when I found out about it is when I told my grandmother that I was going to Talledega. And she was like, I think my mom, I don't know how it just came about, but it ended up being brought up. My grandmother was just like, Mr. William Harvey, I know him. He's my cousin. He's your cousin. We're all related. And I was just like, no way. I was like, that museum is
a whole museum.
A whole museum. I went in there and it's so nice. We got a tour, paintings in there, and I was just like, this is just happening to me. I was
Absolutely.
Like, hopefully one day I will get to meet him. I haven't met him yet, but I can't wait to meet him. And then come to find out, I have another cousin that was alumni there. He actually was the dean of Alabama State, Mr. Kirk. Yeah, Mr. Kirk. So yeah, I'm still learning about everything.
Yeah.
Me, so
that is really exciting to, first of all, to go into a building that is so historical and that means so much to the campus, and then to learn that you have a personal connection to it. And when I first started this episode, I was sharing about all of the individuals who were just they were just trailblazers, opening doors for us. And Lucy Collins, the mother of gymnastics for black girls, and now we can add to that list Kyrstin Johnson, because she is going to be making history as the first signee for Talledega Gymnastics. And how does that make you feel knowing that you are making history?
You know what? I never thought this would ever happen to me. I've always just thought I would just be, somewhere else. I don't know. I'm just excited. I it's actually so unbelievable because I think I'm still just in awe. Like, I'm making history, and and I'm going to the second HBCU with the gymnastics team.
Yes,
So I'm still taking that in now, actually. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just went through that first inaugural season with Fisk because they were the first. And as I shared with them, there will be other teams coming in. There'll be other girls coming in, but there will never be another first. And the same thing for you at Talledega. There are going to be other teams after this inaugural team, but you all are going to be the first and only inaugural gymnastics team. And you will be in the history books. Your name will be listed as one of those team members. And I know that there's been 2 additional athletes that have since made their commitment. And I know recently you did a live on Instagram with the 3 of you all talking. How has it been like meeting them? I know one you got to see in person, but one is Jamaica. She lives in Jamaica. And so she's not here in the country yet. So talk to the audience about getting to meet your teammates so far and what you're looking forward to the most.
Oh my God. First of all, it is so cool. It was so cool. I love talking to them. I can't wait to meet them in person. And actually just knowing that I'll actually have teammates with me and I'll be going to a new gym with them. We all get to use up like the new equipment. We'll all be wearing like cool leotards representing Talledega. That's what I'm really excited the most, to get to make a connection with them. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be, it is. That is going to be so exciting. I know that Brown Girls Do Gymnastics just recently celebrated their HBCU Gymnastics Day, and you participated in that. And there's going to be some other things coming up that you're going to get to do. So I hope you're ready for all of this excitement that's getting ready to come your way, because it is going to be fast and furious. And there's going to constantly people, I know just from the first experience, but people are just so hungry and excited for this to finally make its way into HBCU, so that girls who desire, and it's not the girls who choose to go to other institutions that are not go to the PWI institution, is not to take anything away from them, but it's also what it is. I want people to take from this is this gives them another option. There are some girls who want to have the HBCU experience, and they don't want to have to sacrifice their athletics to do so. And they want to make sure that they're feeling like they fit in and they're able to do that. And so thankfully to Talledega and also to Fisk, and again to Darren of Brown Girls Do Gymnastics for making all of this happen. Kyrstin and I also, I'm a mentor for Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, and Kyrstin is an ambassador. How long have you been an ambassador for Brown Girls Do Gymnastics?
It's actually been a year now. It's been a year. Yeah,
a year for me too. So that's really exciting. I've enjoyed that organization and helping them and seeing all of the little young Black girls and just thrive and grow in their sport. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully soon I'll be able to get Darren here on the episode and we can do a deeper dive into Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. I know they've got some upcoming camps, and she's really shy and she doesn't like to do things like this, but I'm going to keep, I know recently she did an interview for someone, and so now that's my end to say, well, I saw that you did this interview, so she won't be able to tell me no. So
come on over.
Come on over. I am so thankful. We could go on and on. I'm going to have you back. Yes. Maybe what'll happen, like once you get settled with your teammates, or maybe you can talk with the other 2, and I can have the 3 of you all come on and just talk about, your experience and what you're looking forward to and just all the things. So just kind of put that in their ear, and I'll look forward to them.
Of course.
I'm so happy that I got to finally meet you in person when I came to your signing.
I
And
know. Oh
just
my
to
God, that was so exciting. That
yes,
was
I'm only
so
going to be
exciting.
two hours away from you, like 2.5 hours
Yep.
away from you. So I'll get to come and see the things. And I'm super excited that you all are going to have your own gym and that you're going to, there's actually a facility for you already that they're going
Mhm.
to put the equipment in. So that's a big plus too. I'm just really excited to watch and come and support. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I do a call to action. I want you all to follow Kyrstin on her social media. You can find her on Instagram at Kyrstin_Johnson. And I will make sure that this goes into the show notes as well. But make sure you follow her and give her lots of encouragement. She's going to post more information about her road to Talledega as it starts to happen. She recently qualified for national, so that's her next
Mhm.
competition. Probably going to be her last competition, unless she qualifies to Easterns, which we all are going to hope for. But she's got that coming up in about a month, and so we wish her well and much success on that part. And I just really appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to us continuing to work together and to having
No,
you
thanks
back
for
on the
inviting
episode.
me.
You are
Yes. Thank you for
welcome.
inviting me. It was so nice talking to you. And just, yes, thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you so much. And there you have it. We just finished another episode of Conversations with Coach, and I am super excited about this, um, about Kyrstin's first year, not only just in college, but as an inaugural team member of the second HBCU to have a gymnastics program. And I appreciate you following me. If you're not following on all of my platforms, please do so. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Christina Mindset Coach. I'm on TikTok, probably not that much, but I am. I mentioned earlier this year that I am working on releasing my first book. It's called The Lost Skills Syndrome, and it's an athlete's guide to discover their mental blocks, increase their confidence, and achieve their goals. And I will keep you updated as to, hopefully we'll be going to publication very soon, and we'll be doing a pre-sale launch probably in another month. So be on the lookout for that. So make sure you're following me on my social media platform so that you can get on that list for pre-sales. You can also, if you've got an athlete that is struggling with having intermittent skill work and they have been able to do the skill, but then all of a sudden now they can't do their skill and they really don't understand why that's happening to them, I want you to go on my website and schedule a clarity call so that we can discuss it and I can share with you the techniques that I've used with Kyrstin and many of my other clients. I want to thank you again so much for joining. And until next time, make sure that you make it a great one. And remember, your life is only as good as your mindset.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Coach. Please be sure to follow Coach Christina on all of her social media platforms. And remember, life is only as good as your mindset.